Welcome back to the Fit 40 podcast, where we simplify exercise and nutrition for busy parents 40 plus so they can improve their health and feel amazing. I'm your host, Brian Fitzsimmons, certified personal trainer and nutrition coach for people over 40 since 2015. And today we have another awesome topic on deck. We're going to be talking about how to reduce soreness. This is one of those things that a lot of people don't really understand, and they chase it for the wrong reasons. And it can actually mess up your results, and it can lead you to not really enjoying exercise to the point where you want to keep doing it over and over again and reap all the benefits. So let's nip it in the bud and talk about how to do this right. Now, before we get into it, make sure if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that follow or subscribe button wherever you're watching or listening so that way you don't miss another episode, because I release 2 episodes weekly and you definitely don't want to miss them. They're information packed and they're going to help you with whatever you got going on. And if you have any ideas for future topics, I'm all ears, because I do this for you guys. I want to make sure that you're getting the information that you actually want. And this is one that came up this week with a lot of the in-person clients, like asking about soreness and like how much did they experience. Like one person asked me, like, what do you think of this thing, this fascia blaster? Because I guess they were looking into it to try and reduce the soreness. And I'll just tell you right now, instead of wasting money on fascia blasters or massage guns, compression clothing, supplements, cryotherapy, all these things that all have a dollar sign on it, how about I give you some things that you could do for free that are probably going to serve you way better than all of that stuff? Sound good? All right, let's try this. First off, let's determine why you are sore in the first place. So when it comes to the reasons why, there's variety, volume, intensity, and recovery. So when it comes to variety, is the reason you're sore because of what's called a novel soreness. What happens is when you do a new exercise or a new method or a new, like anything that's different from what you're used to, you're going to experience a little bit of soreness just from your body not recognizing it. Does this mean you're actually making progress? No, it just means that your body's like, whoa, that was different. Okay. Because a lot of people do constant variety because they still follow outdated methods like muscle confusion, for example. That's been debunked for the last like 20, 30 years. And anybody still preaching that stuff really needs to pick up a textbook or get into a research review and get their knowledge up to speed, because that is so far in the past that we're beyond this. Okay. No muscle confusion crap. Does not work like we think it, well, like we thought it used to. And then also finding a method that works for you. So like what we can do, like let's say you're in a class, you're in a class that always changes it up. Okay. That class is not going to all of a sudden just change for you because you heard this awesome podcast and now you're in this exercise class that's doing all these different moves and you're like, this isn't the way, but that's how they've programmed it. Well, what you can do is just ask for similar stuff that you did the last time. So if they're changing everything up, just be like, hey, I know we did this squat last time and we're doing this squat this time. Can I just do the one we did last time? And chances are, if the instructor doesn't have to really think about it and it doesn't mess up the flow, why not? And if you see anything else that looks similar, just ask like, hey, is it possible to do this again? I really don't want to be that sore. And if they say, yeah, go for it. And if not, if they're like really harping on, no, we got to change it, we got to always do different things, then just know they don't necessarily have your best interest at heart. And they're not really evidence based. They're just trying to entertain you rather than actually get you a result. So just something to think about. And honestly, even if they are that type that refuses to change and they're like, no, you got to do it this way, what you could do is treat it as active recovery. So don't let that be your sole source of workouts. Just treat it as something fun, something to do with the group, and get all the benefits that come from being in a group, being in an environment that is supportive and all that good stuff. Just go lighter on the weights, be a part of the group and do what is required and enjoy that movement, but do it in a pain-free way, in a way that works the cardio maybe a little bit more, rather than going for absolute strength and lifting as heavy as possible during these classes. Which brings me to my next thing, volume. Okay, this is the big differentiator when it comes to when you're over 40 versus when you are in your 20s. This is the thing that I tell people all the time. I'm like, hey, you got to change things because you're not 20 anymore. And this is probably the biggest one, because when you are 20 something, when you are in your teenage years, you can recover really well. And I mean, we see this all the time. If you drink, like your hangovers when you were a teenager or a 20 in your 20s, almost non-existent unless you had like a major blowout and then the next day you're feeling like death. But when you're in your 40s, your 50s, your 60s, that feeling like death comes from like a handful of drinks instead of like a full on session, because your body loses the ability to adapt and recover as you age. Or it doesn't lose the ability, it just takes longer and longer to recover. So you need to adapt your methods. You need to understand what is best for your body versus what are you trying to force feed it, because back in the day you looked so much better or you felt so much better. Guess what? Those previous methods are not going to work for you anymore. All right, because volume is going to be dictated by your recovery. And most times, when we're talking about most people's ability to recover over the age of 40, that usually results in anywhere between 2 to 4 strength workouts where we're lifting the weights, trying to lift heavier, do more repetitions over time, and at least one cardio session, like one intentional one throughout the week. And along with that, active recovery can potentially increase your volume capacity. So, like the class we were just talking about, it could help you build the capacity to do more work during your strength sessions or during your cardio sessions, because you're not just sitting around and getting stale, you're keeping your body moving. And there's a saying, motion is lotion, because the more you move, the better your body responds when it does hard things and just overall throughout the day. So keep your body moving, do light stuff that keeps it moving and keeps that blood flow like pumping for like lack of a better term. Uh, and just don't stop moving, because it's going to serve you better than working out on certain days and then just sitting around doing nothing on those other days and just getting stale and feeling more and more stiff progressively. The next thing is intensity. And when I say intensity, the standard definition is basically the percentage of your max. So, how close to failure? So, when you are doing your weights, how often are you getting very, very close to failure? And how many of the sets are you getting close to failure on? Because we want to do that, but we don't want to do it too much. There's a right amount. More is not better in this situation, which I know, especially from certain generations, it's a hard sell, but I'm telling you, more doesn't always equal better. If that was the case, there'd be a lot more people that are living the way they want to, not necessarily in pain, feeling like crap, maybe holding on to too much weight because they're just doing more, 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 and it's not really serving them. So let's really focus on that, getting it out of our head and getting the right amount. And also, another thing, when we're talking cardio, for example, another thing we can focus on is your heart rate. How often are we pushing into zone 4 and zone 5? Because those are very fatiguing in those heart rate zones, and it's going to add stress. And when you have too much stress and not enough recovery, you're not going to adapt as well as you should. So, are we pushing it way too hard during our cardio? And just so you know, when it comes to things like high intensity interval training, things like that jack your heart rate up, you need like a sprinkle of that compared to if we're doing capacity work, zone 2 work, things that are going to make you feel better, improve your heart health, all this good stuff. That's at lower heart rate ranges. So don't feel like you need to just gun it pedal to the metal to try and get your cardio fixed. That's not how you do it. And it's just going to shoot you in the foot in the long run. And then also, if we're talking cardio, mileage too, or just even if you're lifting so many reps, when you go from lower repetitions to higher repetitions, or you go from a lower mileage to a higher mileage, like really fast, that's a recipe for crushing yourself and also possibly injuring yourself, because a lot of people don't realize that injury usually just comes from doing too much, too fast, too soon. So you got to rev it up and give your body that ability to adapt. If you're just trying to go 0 to 100, it's like trying to jump your stairs. You're going to fall flat on your face. You're probably going to hurt yourself, and then you're going to still land all the way down at the bottom. Take the first step, whatever that next first step is, whether that's going from your heart rate being in zone 2 for like 10 minutes of work one week, go to 15 minutes the next week, and then 20 minutes the next week, because you're taking these steps instead of saying, I'm going to go for 2 hours and then hurting yourself and then developing a negative relationship with exercise. All right. So I'll cut myself off before I go too far on that. Now, last but not least, the thing that drives all of this that you've heard me say multiple times is recovery. So, what exactly do we get with recovery? Like, what do we have to focus on that's going to impact that? Number one, the king, queen, prince, princess, and everyone in between of recovery is sleep. Okay. Sleep, sleep, sleep. And we're always sacrificing it. We're always putting other things in front of it. We're okay with feeling like crap the next day. But at a certain point, you got to say, you know what? I can do better. Okay. And that looks different for everybody. I'm not saying you have to get 7 to 9 hours. I'm not saying you have to wake up refreshed, like feeling like you're a brand new person every single day. That's just not realistic. But where we're at right now, what's one thing we could do to improve either our sleep quantity or sleep quality, or maybe even both? Like maybe we have all these lights around the room that we can put duct tape over that is not going to interfere with the functionality of whatever it is, whether that's a fire alarm or something on the TV. And we can get some blackout curtains going and we can really get dark so that that way your eye doesn't catch anything when you wake up during the middle of the night, during that normal part of our sleep cycle. Okay. If you have all these little lights and you catch it, you're going to wake yourself up a little bit because your brain's going to get stimulated. If you're in a blackout room, it's easier to just fall right back asleep. Or let's say you can't do that. Maybe you get a good sleep mask that blocks everything out for you that you could take on the road with you as well. Maybe you travel a lot, get a good sleep mask that doesn't bother you too much, and that'll take care of it right then and there. Maybe it's a temperature thing. Maybe you need to figure out, hey, my partner likes it this certain temperature. I'm going to get a fan on me. So something that makes me cool down a little bit. Or maybe you need a little bit more heat. Maybe you negotiate and say, hey, can we please turn the heat up? You'll get the fan. And then that could possibly work. Just spitballing ideas, not saying it's a guarantee. Another thing is to have an honest conversation with yourself and say, hey, is it worth sacrificing one episode of Netflix tonight where I can get a little bit more sleep and feel a little bit better the next day? Maybe. Or is it like your only time to hang out with your significant other and you're willing to make that trade? If so, fine, totally cool. Work on the other stuff. Work on the other things that are going to potentially give you a situation where you can get the best of both worlds. But that's a whole different conversation for sleep. I could go on it for a whole episode on that. Next up is hydration. When it comes to hydration, do not overthink it. Don't feel like you need to chug water all day and be in the bathroom all day. That's not how you hydrate. Okay. A lot of people are putting these arbitrary numbers out there because certain studies say this, certain studies say that. But then when you actually talk to a real nutrition or not nutrition, a real hydration expert, like when you listen to somebody who actually is a researcher on this stuff, people actually go to them and say, what is the recommendation? You'll hear them say, drink when you're thirsty. Or my personal favorite is just using the P chart, like the color chart. So are we getting close to clear? If so, awesome. If it's yellow, let's get a little bit more in. If it's like brown, like that's no good. We really need more. And possibly like if it's like super dark, go to the hospital. So it's always good to keep tabs of that when you're going to the bathroom. And it could also be a good thing too. We're paying attention to number one, pay attention to number two. If your stool is not in the right place and it looks a little bit off, whether it's too loose, too firm, really tiny nuggets instead of like one nice solid log. I know I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go down this route, but it's helpful information. Pay attention to this stuff because if your stool is a little bit different, a little irregular, that could be a sign that you're not absorbing certain nutrients as well. Or maybe you're um, not responding to certain foods that you're eating. Maybe there's an irritant in the food that you're eating and your body is not able to respond and absorb all of that. That will play into recovery as well. Because if you're not absorbing the nutrients that you're eating from your food, then you're going to be malnourished and that's going to impact your recovery as well. So pay attention when you go to the bathroom to these things and see what it takes to get yourself in a better place. And if you don't know, reach out to a registered dietitian, maybe ask your doctor or a coach who's been doing it for a while, like that does a lot of stuff as far as digestion is concerned. I know I've got a few things in the toolkit that I use for clients. Next is nutrition, making sure that we get mostly whole foods, making sure that we are having certain things like treats and things here and there as opposed to always consistently and making up most of our calories. If like 10 to 20% of our calories come from treats and stuff and the rest is whole foods or minimally processed foods and we're getting enough protein, we're getting enough fiber, we're feeling good, getting a lot of micronutrients from fruits and veggies, like you are going to exponentially impact your recovery and your ability to feel fresher faster. And then also active recovery, like we just mentioned. If you're moving day to day instead of doing exercise one day, sitting on your ass the next, exercise the next day, sitting on your ass, like that is going to serve you so much better if there's always some sort of movement because that's going to move things along faster. Next is understanding your stress load, like overall. What is your stress load when you add it all up? Because it's not just the negative stress, it's also the positive stress. There's distress and eustress. It's both of it is stress. Okay. Is work driving you nuts? Is your life kind of chaotic right now with kids, maybe taking care of your parents or other things like that that get into it? Are you in a calorie deficit because that is a stressor on your body not getting enough fuel? Are you exercising too much? That is also a stressor. Even though if you do enough exercise in the right amount, that is a positive stressor. But if you do too much, it's a negative. It's not one or the other all the time. So, because of that, some people, honestly, if you are stressed out beyond belief, you might be better off doing one day and and hitting your step goal every single day, as opposed to doing exercise every single day and forcing it, even though you feel like crap. Because if you're able to do that one day where you do some strength training and maybe a little bit of cardio at the end, you will probably, compared to the training every day and pushing yourself through it, you're probably going to get better sleep, which is going to lead to an improved hormone profile. You're going to end up feeling a lot better when you wake up. Your body's going to respond better. You're going to have the ability to manage your stress a little bit better because you're getting that better sleep, and everything's going to start working for you, which is really nice. And it doesn't feel as crappy as the other option. So, how do you know? Like, how do you get to that place where you're like, okay, I think I'm putting all this to use. I feel like this is working. How do we know for sure? Number one is listen to your body. Okay. If you are sore for more than 1 to 2 days max, that's probably a sign you did too much. Now, I will say, slight caveat, if it's your first week of a new program, then yeah, you're probably going to be sore a little bit longer than that, just because that novel stimulus, which is good because we are changing the program up every once in a while so we don't get completely stale and end up hitting a plateau. But we want to keep in mind that this new soreness should only be once every like 4 to 12 weeks. It shouldn't be every single time you go in. And then once you get into a rhythm, week 2, week 3, week 4, you feel that soreness the next day, but it's not like a, oh my God, I can't sit down to go to the toilet, or, oh, I can't step up the stairs without feeling like crap. It's, okay, I feel like I did something. Like, oh, okay, hello, like a little zinger every once in a while. We're like, that is sore. Okay, yeah, nope, that's, but you're still able to live your life. It's not a hindrance. And then on day 2, it's like either non existent, or you're like, oh, yeah, I still feel a little something there, but hey, it means I did something, right? That's what we want to strive for, because if you do that, you don't need all this extra crap. Your body is able to get rid of that soreness on its own. You don't need a gadget or a supplement for every little ache or pain or every little thing that happens to you. That's just marketing. And that's the bullshit that I want to fight against, because you don't need to empty your wallet just to be healthy. You don't. Okay. Um, and then also improved performance. Another thing that is a very good indicator is, are you less sore every time you do your lift or your run, or when you're measuring? Another good one is like when you're measuring how many calories you burn throughout the exercise. If you're able to burn less calories doing the same amount of work, that's a good thing. That means your body is not working as hard to do what you're doing, because it's becoming more efficient, because it's getting stronger, because your uh, heart and your lungs are getting much stronger and are getting better at pumping blood and oxygen through your body, so you perform better. That's a really good thing. But people see, oh, I burn less calories, that means I have a bad workout. No, it's the opposite of that, regardless of what your splat points tell you. Sorry, slight dig. Um, and then also seeing the body composition changes that you want, especially when it comes to those areas that we tend to fixate on, like the waist, for example. When you are at the right amount of soreness and your body is at the right amount of stress and recovery, you're going to adapt the way you should and the way that you want to. And you will see that around the midsection, you probably will see decreased inches if you're measuring that, as opposed to like losing it everywhere else but there, because hormonally we're putting ourselves in a place where cortisol is through the roof, and we're more likely to put all this weight on as visceral fat because we're stressed out and all those negative things that come with it. When we can manage that, then you start actually seeing the body composition changes that we want. We're not losing it in like our limbs and not in our midsection. It's like all over together, and it's a nice little harmony and symphony going on as you're doing all this work. All right. So I hope that this made sense. I hope that it saves you a few bucks here and there, because I know holidays are coming up and I don't want you wasting a good gift on a freaking massage gun or a fascia blaster. Like, do these things, and honestly, ask for, like, if you need help in whatever it is that you're doing, ask for money to go towards a coach or to go towards learning the things that you need to learn, because that's going to serve you better in the long run, because you know everything that you need to know based on everything I tell you in these podcasts. But getting somebody to make you do it is where the progress is made. You can say, I know what to do. I just got to make myself do it till the cows come home. But that'll go years and years and years and years. And you're going to feel like, oh, I'm stubborn. I should do this. I should do this. But you're not going to be any healthier or stronger or living the life that you should be living as far as quality of life. So let's cut that crap out. Let's actually put in that work. And if you need help, reach out. I'm always here. I have the link down below to the coaching consultation if you ever want to click away and get on a call with me and just see if coaching is right for you and your budget and your lifestyle. And we'll see what it's all about based on your situation. But if you're not quite there yet and you need some stuff that'll also help improve your recovery, then I would definitely grab the Core 4 bundle, because those resources in there are incredible when it comes to everything that I just talked about. So there's the mobility and metabolism training, the follow along routine for the mobility flow. And it has options in there that help if you have trouble getting off the ground, if you have knee issues, if you have wrist issues. That follow along routine will help you work through that and give you options that will help with those issues. There's also the 15 follow along strength workouts. So if you want to do those at home, like I said, like do your group classes, have fun, don't go crazy on the weights, but then on your off days from those group classes at home, do those follow along workouts and use heavier weights as you go, do more repetitions as you're able to. That will be the big driver of the results you're chasing. And then along with that, there's the PFC cheat sheet, which includes all these different foods that I talked about, like the lean proteins, fibrous carbs, fruits and veggies, all this stuff, and teaches you how to put it all together. It's got that in there too. So go ahead, download that Core 4 bundle and make sure you're doing all this stuff before you waste money on that stuff I mentioned, and you will be in such a better place. I promise. But that's it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to my rants all the way through. I appreciate you. I will see you next time. But until then, go kick some ass. Bye-bye.